folks, foes, and fellow pirate ladies to this week's installment of World Pirate Radio News. It is our 85th midweek muck around, as we like to call things here aboard the Robin Hood. I am, of course, your host, as always, the ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. We got a couple guys waiting in the wings here. No gals to speak of to this point, so we'll see how that progresses here along the way. Although I must say that with feature guests we have booked coming up, courtesy of Pirate Radio Podcast, flagship to the wider WPRPN.com network, things are looking good as far as female personalities, so we have no fear. We have a few of those available and coming up here over the next couple months. So, that being said, busy news week, of course, and we did remind you, hopefully, yes, to drop by the WPRPN.com website. That's always top of the list here, along with the fact that if you're looking to support us, we don't have that super chat feature in place right now via YouTube, which it's coming, and we're working towards that, and we're looking forward to finding ourselves at the level where we feel we've earned that credit and respect for what it is that we put together here on twice a week now is what we're doing. Of course, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 on the East Coast. If you're not familiar with when we actually launch the show, this is on Tuesday and Friday nights, same time each evening. Different format. Tuesday night, it's all about news and current events. Friday night is when we have our feature guests booked. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. You can see all this information freely available via the show schedule link off of the WPRPN.com pull-down menu at the top of your browser. Alrighty then. Big shout out to Reverend Jim and Laura Corvino. Thank you so much for your support over the past couple of weeks. If either of you are listening, it means a lot to us. And look forward to speaking with you here again, of course, at some point. David John Oates, of course, was our feature guest this past week. And, you know, what I thought it was a great show, actually, and it was great to revisit those old Art Bell days, the classic interviews that he had with David. And Art was very much on my mind at the time, actually, so simply because without him, I'm not sure if we ever even would have booked David. But yeah, reverse speech expert David John Oates, not sure what everybody made of it. Some people regard the whole business as a kind of pseudoscience of sorts. I myself look at things more openly and, strongly suspect that, yes, indeed, the universe that we find ourselves living in here could very well be coded in a binary sense, as along the lines of what we see with yin and yang. So zeros and ones, it's no coincidence. That's what we find with the computer programs, of course. And once again, just the way that the cosmos is itself structured, that's what we'd be looking at here as well. So checking out the slideshow right now, and it's interesting that the Dalai Lama's translator, actually, Tsongkhapa, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Rinpoche, is popping up there. So, yes, indeed. Thought we'd add his picture to the slides for this show segment number 85 of World Pirate Radio News, along with many others, of course, current issues and events, all the latest. And, of course, the fellows we have here waiting in the wings, I think each of them probably wanting to have a say, get their voices heard, and with updates as to what's happening in their lives, but also what they see occurring throughout the broader media landscape, shall we say, these issues that impact us on a very practical and pragmatic bread and butter level. So yeah, that's what we're looking at there basically. But uh, I think that's about it for now. There's nothing really much that I can come up with, and we'll just work into things here as time goes on. But in the meantime, we've had a number of people there waiting in the wings, and let's see, we have, just looking at the computer over on my left here is the laptop. And really, yes, I must say, I haven't mentioned this too much, but if people are curious or wondering with the studio here, that we have these LED lights, which they go on well before Christmas. The wife, oh geez, I don't know, probably, sometime in the late spring asks if I'm ever going to turn them off. So I just think they add a real kind of cool ambiance. Something I saw first with Joe Rogan back in the day when he was first doing his thing, just very comfortable, relaxed environment. So unfortunately, I'm here all by myself, although in the virtual sense, we're all sailing along here together. There's no doubt about that. So I don't know, Tommy or Pirate Joe, Angel, you're the guy that we actually had reached out to and invited to drop by and join us here. I'm not sure for whatever reason, just to update us or see how you're doing, basically. How are things?
Well, you never really need a reason to have me on.
We got to unmute you there. Okay, go ahead. Your channel's open. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm saying you don't really need a reason to have me on. I'm just the kind of dude who just say, hey, come on. And I'm like, let me check my calendar. Usually I'm free. So this is actually exciting. I'm doing something on a Tuesday night.
Well, you've been laid up a little bit over the last little while, have you not?
Yeah, I'm still recovering from the surgery. The meds kicked in pretty good. I had a 10-minute nap tonight, which was good. The meds really helped on that aspect because pain threshold is high, but the pain is higher.
I'm sorry, what do you mean? What do you mean by that exactly?
Pain in my leg.
Mm-hmm.
That it's pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to get too gruesome, but let's just say if it was a horror movie, we'll be right in the middle of the cutting the leg off because the pain is just too much. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, we were actually there's word that Sawbones or Bone Saw might be dropping by, paying you a little visit, take a closer look at things before the gangrene sets in. Which I think to some extent, there's some pictures you've sent around, and I think they're pretty much just the public was able to make of things whatever they felt was they wanted to do with what you're sharing there. But yeah, some pretty gruesome. It's how are things, because it was a sizable, like a mere flesh wound. What's the deal exactly? It's almost looked to me like, I know it's from your accident as well too, or at least as far as I recall, but like a flesh-eating disease sort of situation.
No, it wasn't nothing like that. Do you really want to get into that?
Well, just basically what it was.
It's kind of silly.
What's it called? For the formal medical diagnosis.
Well, I definitely have some, but they don't know what it was exactly. It was, it didn't get to the bone or anything like that, so they don't need to actually cut the leg off, which was a lifesaver, because I didn't want to go through the rest of my life as a gimp, with, hopping on one leg. But no,
they think on the bright side, you wouldn't have to diet anymore.
No. I could go on a straight disability. That would be great.
You could what's your height? You could just the height, get on the scale there. It's like, I guess that's about average.
Yeah, lost about 50 pounds.
We should be your average weight. There you go. Yeah.
He's willing to lose 50 pounds.
You could have had a peg.
You gotta have a peg leg, man.
Definitely. I'm gonna be a pirate. I gotta have a peg leg. But the best way to lose some weight, just cut a limb off. You're good. Leg, arm, it's some weight.
Right.
But no, it started off as nerve damage because of my car accident back last April, which made a little swelling on my leg, and something bit me around the neighborhood because I walk a dog, and something outside bit me, and it got infected, and it went from a little tiny thing into a balloon, huge cyst thing in about span of a couple weeks. And I was like, it'll just pop and go away. It popped, but it never went away. And by the second day, I was like, oh, this is getting ugly. So I went directly to the hospital, and they were like, you're about a week away from losing your leg. I hope you realize that. And I was like, no. And they were like, yeah. And then they started pumping me with all kind of antibiotics, and they put me in a quarantine room, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I thought I was going to be the one that actually caused the outbreak. But no, they told me, after, a little time that I could go home, and then an outbreak actually happened in China. So go figure. I don't know, maybe it was, my fault or whatever, but, I do like Chinese food. Won't eat it anymore though. But it got pretty bad. It looked like it was, gonna be a goner. But the leg's getting a little bit better. It's at that point now where, like, I remember I went home with a hole in my leg, basically. And the skin is starting to go over where the hole was. So it's making the connections, and that is a very painful part. Because there was no skin there. So once those connections start happening, and the collagen sets in on the bottom of that, that's where it starts getting really painful. Before that, I had to hold my leg in. It was no pain. Go figure.
Well, it's interesting, just the timing of things here, because I don't think there's any causal relation necessarily. Could be, I suppose, but anything within the realm of possibility. But looking at the coronavirus in particular, have you been following that? Do you know what that actually the origin of where it's said to have come from?
We had, on Sunday, all jokes aside, we had, Nicholas Gerber on the show, and,
right.
we were discussing, the incident with the Falun Gong and what's going on, the genocide, I should say, not incident, but the genocide that's going on with those people, and, dealing with that and putting it into context with what's happening now with the coronavirus and the number of people that are, being reported compared to what really is happening in China. I even brought it up on the show that to me it almost seems like this is so purposely done by the Chinese to kind of fudge the numbers on whatever other things they might have been doing, I think. And I have a feeling, I even told Mitchell this, that we're going to see some of the Falun Gong people they've done this atrocities to, probably within the numbers of the reported dead Chinese people that are going to start coming out. If that starts happening, and we can put some of those people together that are part of the Falun Gong, this might be one way of them fudging numbers or just getting rid of people they've already gotten rid of, and kind of like washing their hands of the whole thing in the UN sense. So the UN can come in and say, you guys did this and you killed 90,000 members of this very peaceful community. And, remember, this is, by all reports right now, the whole coronavirus thing has been almost a governmental thing. Like, every report is like, this came out of the government put this out. They're trying to, like, do whatever experiments they were doing, and they leaked out. There was an outbreak. So, I mean, I don't think anything just happens by accident. I think this is something that might have been put out there on purpose for that reason, or that was part of the reasoning.
So you haven't heard anything as far as the Harvard angle is concerned, then, I'm assuming. Harvard University.
Well, I know there was a leak here from a hospital. Somebody got released recently. I read something about that.
Wow, no, it goes further than that. It goes much further and deeper, and it's really something I've been trying to direct people's attention to as best I can, because to me it is absolutely stunning the way that we came across this information 2 weeks ago. We're trying to get our heads wrapped around it. Weren't really quite able to report on things, which really is just communicate, transmit, share with our listeners is what that boils down to, drawing their attention to what we're talking about here and where maybe they should go if they're interested in surfing the World Wide Web. So Harvard and Lieber, his name is spelled L-I-E, which to me, I think that spells lie, which in this context, trust me, it's very applicable. B-E-R, Lieber, sounds of his name, very nice Jewish man, at a very, in a very high level position in the Harvard academic landscape. In fact, he's the chair. If I got my facts straight here, it's the biochemical department, something along these lines. People can easily, fact check and work to better get to the bottom of things, because I'm just doing this all off the top of my head right now as to what I've read to this point. But what the deal was is he got arrested. He was arrested by, I think it was the FBI, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure we're talking jurisdictions and the whole business there, but yeah, I think it was the FBI, not just regular, local police, along with 2 Chinese nationals. One of whom, yeah, and nobody's reported. It goes deeper than this, man. Trust me, we're just getting to it right now. But so there's one Chinese national who's a military, and what the deal was, they got caught smuggling this exotic biochemical weapons grade material. And where were they affiliated with? Where were they going back to? Where was their home base? Do you want to guess? Back in China. Starts with a W. Starts with a W. Give a hint here.
Starts with a W.
Next there's a U. What's that? Wu.
Wu-Tang?
Wuhan.
I was close.
Wuhan province, and that is where this is all arisen. This is ground zero for the corona, Wuhan. And, so all I can really do here, we'll share the link in the restream as well, too. But what we're looking at really is a major scandal where there has been this conspiracy, frankly. We'll call it for what it is. It's not a theory anymore. It's been exposed. The cover's been blown. Hang on just a second.
Quick question.
Yeah, jump in there, Tom.
Have you heard any corroborating stories from any other outlets about this besides this gentleman?
That's the problem. I'm just looking. It's like, Jesus, why is nobody covering this in any great detail? There's a couple outlets that have, like InfoWars has, and there's
not necessarily outlets, but other people with testimonies that could corroborate what's being said. That's so important.
With respect to what's going down in Harvard?
No, with this guy that gave the story about the Falun Gong and this stuff that he talked about with the organ harvesting and that kind of thing.
The Falun Gong definitely is a real thing. I mean, they do exist. The Falun Gong, it's a real thing.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying these stories about the organ harvesting, has that been corroborated?
Yeah. Yes, it has, Tom. We'll save this for just to hang on a second. Yep. So we want to keep it on Corona right now.
He's got no reason to lie about either the virus or what they're doing to the to his
Mitchell.
People. Yes.
No.
He's in Hanoi. He's taking a risk just reporting on it. Burning bodies.
He seems like a solid guy. He's not joking around. Yeah.
No, it's not fear porn. This guy is just giving a heads up. And, he's taking a great risk to do it. So I don't think he's pulling anybody's wooden leg.
Look, man. And here's the thing, too. Once you bring in because I hadn't really thought about that, but let me just say this, that from the footage I've seen, they were taking people out of their houses screaming, yelling and screaming, begging, pleading, doing what they could to resist basically, you could call it an arrest or detainment. I'm not sure what exactly, but, they had that, like the Chinese officials with their hazmats, I guess is how you refer to them, the suits that they had on, and dragging them and having them thrown into these ambulance and taken away. I don't know if these were, necessarily Falun Gong practitioners, but the official report was they had been suspected of, having contracted the virus. And so they were just being dragged right out of their apartments once again. Just imagine, that was just a clip that I saw. Just think about how big the country is, China, and what they're doing exactly as far as this whole operation is concerned. And you can I would think that there's maybe some people, you would hate to think what they're doing, but this just goes to show the extent, these tyrannical regimes where there's no citizen pushback whatsoever, because they allow zero criticism.
No, does it shock you now? Does it shock you? It's coming out of China?
No. See, I studied. Dude, I studied China in back in my university days at a multitude of levels. One of our, classical Chinese, Asian, studies as well as modern, and it was great. It was wonderful, and I love revisiting the, as far as conversation is concerned, what's taking place, what the issues are currently, of course. So no, it doesn't shock me in the least. Looking at the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, all these major programs, it's something similar. Which you got the Leviathan Kraken, with its mechanisms at play or at work, if you will. And it's a predatory relationship, frankly, master-slave relationship, and they're just picking off people. Who knows? Maybe it could very well be this covert, let's get them now under the auspices of Corona. Exactly what Mitchell was proposing could possibly be the case. I'm not sure what kind of proof he has on that front. That would be something very new for myself, though, as far as awareness to what's actually taking place that is being kept from us really being able to see out clearly in the light of day as far as public the discourse is concerned. So, but yeah, we'll have him back. And I'm glad that he dropped by your show. I think you met him through us, didn't you? Just a couple days ago, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, on the website. Yeah, he was. I'm not on the website. I'm sorry, on the chat, and it struck me that when he was talking about the Falun Gong, I was like, my goodness, this is an easy way. What's going on with coronavirus to, fudge numbers or to fix, information flow about, what they've been doing to these people for years, and doesn't put out none of this, is past China and that regime. I mean, they're so corrupt and crooked that I would not put any atrocity past what, they're doing, and whatever information you get from China. And huge grain of salt, I'm just saying. Don't believe all the numbers, don't believe everything you hear from China directly, because over the years they've not exactly been the most honest of governments. The people of China, beautiful people, I have nothing against them, but the government, not so trustworthy, not so great.
Yeah, that's all the way it is almost anywhere you look around the world, too. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's the USA, Canada, South Korea. It's these rotten, can you, 7 words you can't say on television. I would say you could go so far, dirty cocksuckers.
Yeah.
In some circles, you would hear that sort of salty language, blue kind of, being thrown around. But these are bad dudes, and it's people, with power will go to any lengths, it seems, to keep it, no matter how corrupt the means necessarily be. And that the truest, if you look at the Machiavellian context of things, the ends justify the means. So we better be on guard for reports such as these. In fact, I'm going to talk to Mitchell and ask him directly as far as this, what we're hitting on here right now, because I do think it's a critical point. But Corona itself, if people want to know, here in South Korea, the wife and I, 2 cats as well, pretty much trying to be as low profile and self-contained as possible, washing hands and whatnot, where on a semi-routine basis. But things are cool here, I'm just chilling and not too. What can you do? Look, we don't have much going on here. As last time I checked, there is an incubation period. In South Korea, there's like 1 reported case, I think, and there's maybe like 10, 20, not even as many as 30 so far that have been infected. So, and that doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means that you've got this bug. But there's another point I was going to add to this.
Well,
this is really
you got
ahead, Joe.
Compared to SARS, what was that,
right.
2003, 2004, something like that? Compared to SARS, which has like a 99% full recovery rate, this has a 17% death rate. So, it should be looked at very...
No. If it's a 5%, maybe.
No.
I heard people say 2%, Joe. Come on.
No, I looked at it very carefully. I read a lot of stuff about it after I spoke with Mitch. And I'm telling you, man,
Yeah,
it's
no,
averaging
no,
17%.
no. I'm not. Look, Mitchell's overflating the numbers. I don't know where he's getting his information from, but I'm just not buying it. And of course, look, we'll look back at this. Hindsight will determine who was right and who was mistaken at the time, obviously, right? But I'm willing to wager that you're wrong and that's a overinflated, conflated set of numbers that he's putting out there, and that we're hearing about here now from you. It's not like a slight against
this is
your
multiple sources. This is multiple source.
All right.
Multiple
sources saying 5%. There's others I've heard like 2%, which okay, but I'm only about 5 or 6, and those are the old people and very young, just like with the way nature functions, right? So. With the
Are you saying that that's what old people do is they die? Because it's true.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
True. Yeah.
But let me just, hey, listen, there's something going on here. We actually had a chance to talk to James Heydrich, last night. And I'm not sure if people know about this, but he was one of our most popular guests ever. And that we did manage to kind of jerry-rig something here where it wasn't brought in via the computer directly. We had a little handheld digital recorder. We're hoping for better sound when we connect with him again. When exactly is? We've broken down the conversation that we had with him into several segments. So what people are going to hear tonight is about a 12-minute conversation that we managed to archive. Now his cellie, just actually, speaking of flu and corona and the like, he just died. He was older. Went through a quadruple bypass, apparently. But the neglect, the lack of care that he received at this, where they're based out of, it's called Coalinga Mental, I think it's like a state mental facility hospital in California. And it's just, we've heard the term warehousing, I'm sure. Some people have heard the term warehousing and private prisons for profit and the like. But James's case in particular, very special man, frankly, because of his story, what he has gone through, what he has endured. He's made up bullshit along the way, of course, too. And if people know who we're talking about, this is, of course, the famous magician and illusionist, along with martial artist, who was really quite. He was kind of a big deal back when we were kids, basically watching on That's Incredible and other shows such as that, where he had a chance to demonstrate his amazing powers, which, as it turned out, were successfully debunked. I don't use that word too often. I'm very wary of it, and a lot of people. It's an overused term, which is very great. It's very effective if you want to shut down the conversation. Oh, well, that's been debunked. It's like, okay, really? Wait, excuse me. So, you know what I mean? Exactly.
I like to answer that with, prove it.
He did successfully debunk him quite effective. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that when people tell me that, I like to tell them, oh yeah? Well, prove it's been debunked. Normally you hear crickets. Normally they can't.
It's anti-Semitic.
You're racist, but there's no race involved. You're just racist. That's what it is.
Yeah. So anytime you want to shut down a conversation, to start throwing terms like that out and see how successful you are. Yeah. Those are desperate. Clearly, those are last-ditch desperate means of trying to do exactly that. So, but yeah. So what happened? His cellie passed away. I think it was in the last week or so. Really. We do have this clip here. We're going to queue up. And we're drawing this to listeners' attention mostly because it's breaking news, frankly. We're going to work on trying to get James back to join us here in some fashion where we can actually have a conversation through whatever we have here as far as computer mics are concerned. Once again, what we have in store for you here shortly is something a little different, which was run through the handheld digital unit, and we boosted the levels as well too. So we did our thing there as best we could, and I think people will basically be able to make out what he has to say. It's quite insightful and enlightening, and that once again, the reason we're in his corner is because he served his time. He served his time long ago, as far as we can tell, and he's being held. It's it's preventative detention. It's on the grounds because the state, this is the case they're trying to make now, and they don't want his habeas, even his right to habeas corpus is being denied. Once again, just like with John Ford. Isn't that interesting? They don't want these people to ever appear before a judge. Why is that?
I passed along a little legal information regarding that. He can do what's called a pro se show cause order. In other words, they have to bring him and the burden of proof is on the institution that's holding him to show cause why he's being detained after the fact. He committed a crime, he served his time, and instead of releasing him, they considered him a risk to society and put him in a mental institution. Okay? Now, all he has to do is say, he can go in front of a real judge, all right, and get a pro se order. They have to bring him in front of a real judge. He can state his position. They can state their position. Have you been in any fights? No, this and that. Has he tried to escape? Has he done this? Has he done that? No, all the way down the line. And then they can say, well, then he can put a writ of habeas corpus through the mental health system down there. That has to be heard within 48 hours. Habeas corpus literally means, and Angel speaks some Latin, right? Yeah, produce the body, to produce him in court, right, within 48 hours.
That's right. That's the show us the man is essentially what the Latin translation.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. That's the Latin is actually produce the body, live
That's right.
or dead.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. So so I left that bit of legal information, hoping that you would have further contact with him after I heard the initial conversation. And I hope he does something about that. In the meanwhile, I'm going to contact John Ford's lawyer and see if he's interested in taking the case, because he's been paid so much money and John is still locked up. So
and James is could quite likely be ending up with a huge payout as well. That's the big problem, I guess, at this point. Frankly, huge payout. That's one of the, as with John, same deal. So you can pass that information on to your lawyer too, if or his lawyer, if you're willing to do that. But let's just say right now it appears as if they are PSN Radio, that is Angel Espino, is simulcasting our conversation here. Show segment number 85 of World Pirate Radio News. Myself, your host, as always, the Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. And it's about 1:35 here approximately in the afternoon. South Korea, drab, wet, drizzly day here. A bit of a chill in the air. Be sure to be wearing my scarf when I step outside. And that's how February weather goes when you're situated somewhere approximately just off the Korean Peninsula. But let's cue up this clip from Hydra, because I do think it is really quite insightful and telling. It's a bit of just a teaser, really, I suppose, of what more that's yet to come from the man. It's quite a very intriguing story, of course, and something which, as with John Ford, I have no idea why there's no documentary that's been made yet. To me, that's quite puzzling. A Hollywood blockbuster or a book of some sort covering his life story, because it really is. I mean, you talk about something worth investigating and sharing with the world. So here we go. We'll just ask you guys in Skype there to make sure that you're muted down, of course, and we'll cue this up here. The first segment of the conversation I had here just yesterday afternoon with James Heidrich. Now, Tommy or Joe, I guess Joe is more familiar with the case itself, but Tommy, how about you? We haven't heard from you in a while here. Any thoughts regarding the Heidrich story? Do you know much about his history at all?
This is all new to me, and I was listening to the old conversation. It was interesting. And I know that you're not as familiar with American laws, and the gist of what he was trying to say to you was he understands the concept of the habeas corpus. In our legal system, that's a big moment when you invoke that. So he was saying that it was a delicate dance they're trying to make with that. So I understood what he was saying there. And there was another point that you guys were talking about right in that same moment that's worth noting. The representation that he has does not sound good. So it doesn't sound like whoever his advocate is, his legal representation is not good. So he needs some serious help, because notoriously in our country, the public defenders and the people that you're, quote, according to our laws, if you can't afford a lawyer, you will be given one. Well, the one that's on staff is usually somebody that doesn't really have. It's kind of a 9-to-5 job for them. There's no real passion in helping you, and a lot of people that's all they have is weak resources. And so this guy sounds like he needs some help. He sounds like there's a lot of corruption going on at that institution.
Yeah, indeed. So definitely a story we're going to want to revisit here over time, so that we can see where things stand. And that, Barbara Koppel, that was her name actually. And I've got a message here courtesy of Jen Lizzie. She is James's girlfriend at the moment, I guess, as far as things go. So she's also very much in James's corner and in support of his plight, of course. Now, we got breaking news here. In fact, this is quite something. Can Frank Dukes call in? Now, Angel, you probably know who Frank Dukes is. Maybe I'm sure a few of our listeners do as well. So I think his name came up in the conversation yesterday with James, and a very, very colorful character, to put it mildly. But I'd love to talk to him. I think he'd be great. I don't know too much about his actual track record or history, other than, as with the likes of Steven Seagal, he has proven to be something of a controversial figure, lightning rod for controversy. It probably make for some pretty good radio. Now, Jen, you're just typing this to us here in real live time via Facebook. I'm assuming you're listening. We can arrange, we can book something here. In fact, is I think probably the best way of doing it. And we'll have Frank on board as a featured guest. I think that'd be great. The world hasn't really heard from him in a big way over the last little while, at least as far as I'm aware. So if he's willing to, speak with us, we'd be happy to have him on board as a feature guest at some point over the next couple months. So we're all booked up until about, I think it's April or so now. But speaking of which, if you'd like to support us in any way, of course, you can always do that. The standard approach is just the liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification button. That is so critical as we work our way up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, the point where we will finally be able to monetize our channel. Hopefully they don't change their policy again. Of course, we're not holding our breath, actually, as far as these things go. So, isn't it ironic? You finally, after they demonetize you the first time because you didn't have enough people interested in your content, that when you finally reach the new threshold, they want to rearrange the goalposts once again. So there we go. But before we move along here any further, let's see if Tommy's available there just for a quick update, because I know that we have coming up this Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that we're going to be having our Galactic Perspectives International, our World Roundtable once again, dealing mostly with reincarnation this week, and Nori Love as well too, Tom.
That's right. We've got Nori coming on Thursday night. It's going to be a good conversation. We're going to, we go off in a little bit different direction than you guys do here with Pirate Radio, and that's great. And you're also a valued asset as co-host, so looking forward to that. I enjoy these. In fact, I'm amazed at the response that we're getting to these broadcasts because they're really a little off the cuff, a little bit fly by the seat of your pants with a main topic. And then we do seem to have a rousing roundtable and discussion, and it's going to be really good with Nori there Thursday because she's got a lot of study and effort and experience in this topic. So it's going to be good to have her on board as a resource. And, of course, we'll have Joe Emanon as becoming our resident scientist on board the Free People of the Cosmos journey. And
Galactic train ride.
That's right, the Galactic the ride. It's and that's good. I love having Joe on as the scientist because we're going to rely on him for the kind of some fact checking on science, and then you're out in a little bit more of you're Captain Hashtag on the show, and the ship's resident entomologist. So that's to be. It's huge. We have a great conversation every Thursday. So anybody that's interested, come on over. The channel's kind of been revamped, rebuilt, trying to find its voice, and I think we're getting there, I would say. Oh, and we're going to have Johnny Webb will probably be along as well, coming in from London. So we have this planetary conversation going on. I'm having a blast with it. I'm really digging it. I think we're having some good stuff come through.
Independent, alternative, underground, online, open sourced. Let's not forget. So unfiltered.
Yeah, so that'll be out on the Free People of the Cosmos channel, and and also I'll fire up the phone thing if people want to call in. Anybody's got an interesting story or something they want to talk about or experience. We'll have open phone line if people want to call in.
Tom, let's get that phone number right now because we've actually got people out there listening. I know that for a fact.
I'll have it up during the show. I'll have it up during the show, Jeff.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have it handy. We have a free conference call wall. Freeconferencecall.com is pretty cool because you can bring in any number of people into your show through that. It's a little tricky. The best way to do it, I found, is to actually have a phone near the microphone to get the calls. Otherwise, trying to patch it through software is just a nightmare.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we're going to have to be doing here when we want to speak with James, and hopefully do not lose him on speakerphone. So
it's about all you can do. It's really difficult to patch phones in. Other than Skype. I mean, Skype's got a lot of great integration, but there's weird bridges that need to be made of many times, and it's trying to patch this stuff together. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put a phone near the mic, and you'll hear the caller, they'll hear me, they'll hear the show and everything. And so
it seems like a good idea, but trust me, that's not a good idea.
Flying by the seat of their pants, improvisation.
We actually have
don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Skype is so much easier.
No, we have Skype, but we also have Zoom, and so there's just it's a hairball, but it can be done through the air gap. It's probably the safest, and I had a caller come on that way, so it's actually pretty cool. It actually works. So.
Captain Improvisation.
That's right. We're certified.
I can get you a diagram for something you can build for less than $5. That'll
I can get you for free the digital audio cables that I use. You use that, you use Skype, and you use the recorder, and you get to ride.
I've got a Skype recorder for
3 minutes.
There's
about 3 minutes. Actually, Skype now has a built-in feature that records. So
but it's not the same as call recorder. The one from Ecamm is really cool because it splits out all the callers into separate tracks. It's a very cool recorder. So it's something definitely, if you have a Mac, you can, I don't think they have it for Windows. I knew somebody that wanted something like it, and I don't know, maybe they have a Windows version, but it is really cool because it'll even split the video tracks into separate video tracks. So it's a very comprehensive program, but that still doesn't help with bringing the freeconferencecall.com through. It's just a major...
Well, that's if you're going to do video, yeah. Yeah, if you're going to do video, it's a different story.
Yeah, they do videos. Their video is awful, though. Their free conference call is video. Their video is awful. It works, but it's not.
Normally, yeah, because you're dealing with other people's internet connections and their knowledge of the internet.
We're on the free tier. We're on the free tier, so they're not going to give you the high quality throughput on video, but it does work. It's more designed for a corporate environment where you really weren't looking for super quality. You just wanted to have communications. Whereas here, what we're doing and what you're doing with PSN, we're all trying to go for some quality audio, and sometimes we're doing quality video. So the tools, trying to get all this stuff to glue together, short of, then you think, okay, I'll use a separate outboard mixer. And then that gets complicated. Then you wind up with just a big pile of stuff. And so I said, you know what? I got to make it simple. I'm just going to put the call on speakerphone, and it'll be close to the mic. And I've had one come through. It was great. So it does work.
Tom, let's not forget, just the past couple of days, you had a major overhaul, revamping of your system there. Just, we were talking to have a 2-minute tech talk with Tom, running a regular feature kind of deal, right? So here you are. But just in brief, because we got to segue into the Red Dragon Herbs and Teas ad that we have waiting for listeners here. But what did you have to go through, and how are things looking, right now as we speak?
Well, I've beaten the monster, and evidently the same monster is what was hounding your system. The way they build these systems now, regardless of the operating system, there's obviously chips on board that determine when you plug your headphones in, the system goes, oh, you've got your headphones in, we'll automatically switch that for you. Then you unplug your headphones, and then they turn off that port. Whereas in the old days, when you'd get a computer, you had a sound card. You always knew where that port was for the audio in, audio out. It was always static. It stayed put. You knew where it was going to be. Whereas these newer systems, there's all this soft porting and trying to be all helpful, and it winds up messing up. So it makes a big problem. But I figured what was causing it and nailed it, and so I've got it under control now. At least I know what's causing what to do what, and can reproduce it. It was really, I'm sure you've had the same problem where you're trying to chase this thing and it just keeps moving. It's like you feel like a cat trying to pounce a mouse. So.
That's absolutely the case, and if it's not one thing, it's the next, isn't it? And you got to stay on top of whatever system it is that you have laid out in front of you, and make sure that everything's. Mm-hmm.
There is something interesting. Zoom has now incorporated YouTube live streaming into the product in such a seamless fashion. It's amazing. The downside is you don't get the programming that we do, where we add the slideshows, the graphics, the frame around it, the start and the stop, and a lot of these things that we think are important, because you're running slides right now. I run slides, or I run the chat room. I can, I do the screen captures. You can't do anything. But that is a nice fallback, though, with Zoom. If my system craps out, at least I know I can push the stream out. It won't have all the window dressing, but at least I can push the stream out, and I wouldn't miss a deadline, or the show would still go on. Wouldn't be as pretty, and maybe later you pull it down and add all the graphics that you wanted to have on there to begin with. You can do that, but at least that's a fallback that worked fine. In fact, Zoom worked just fine with my system. So I thought at first it was my system that was the problem. It's just the way OBS detects all these ports and the patching through. Whereas Zoom, when you hit YouTube live stream, they pop up a login for your YouTube login. You log in as that user, and within about 10 seconds they've formed the key and everything else, and poof, you are live. So I got to give Zoom credit on that front. So if you do need a method for like foolproof streaming, you won't get all the pretty that we're doing right now, but at least you'll be able to punch in and get your stream out. So I give them credit for that. I wish they had more, the ability to add some, a header and a footer or some titling of some kind to the stream. Maybe they'll come up with that. I don't know. But so I know that it wasn't really the system. It's just the ways OBS looks at what it's the way OBS sees what's on board your system. And when your things are moving because of auto detection, it changes. Like you had the problem, Jaffe, where you had it labeled as, okay, that's the mic, and okay, this is this, and then you exit the program, you got to go do something else, you come back in, and now everything's different again. Wait, I had that all mapped to a certain way. So that's one of the biggest annoyances I think I have with OBS is the moving parts,
It's quite challenging. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, you gotta, as a technical production guy, and that, so, we end up wearing so many of these hats where we're forced to take on the responsibility of really running things ourselves. At least
this is micro studio services.
Right.
We are involved in micro studio services. That's what we do. Anybody that does this, what we do, is so bleeding edge. A lot of people, they look at. I mean, I've done screen shares to try to show people how to do it, and it's still. Takes some time and effort and fiddling around to make things work. Used to be a joke in the IT business years ago, and that you could go get certified, which usually puts you 6 to 8 months or maybe even a year behind where technology really was. Technology was usually a year, 2 years ahead of any certification program. So for me, back when I was doing that, it was like, get certified. It was pointless. You had to go make things work. You had to beat on things, and then you built your own mental toolkit because the technology was changing so rapidly. I remember when we had IDE drives, they had all that figured out. Then they came out with SATA. Then they came out with this. Then they came out with the SSD drives, and just technology every 3 or 4 months. These computer companies were coming up with different models because the technology is changing so fast. What you bought 6 months ago, no, we don't make that anymore. Really? Yeah, we got a Model 2 now, or a Model 4, and yours is now a pile of junk, so we don't do that anymore. Get yourself a new one. We got to. Yeah.
2-minute tech talk with Tommy Shutter out of Sebastian, Florida. So there we go. Yeah, we'll have to do this on a semi-routine basis. At least it'd be great to revisit these themes, these issues. Of course, technology not necessarily everybody's thing, everybody's shtick. But I've really had to take a lot upon myself here personally, just because it's not the sort of thing I'd really want to spend so much time doing. But if we're going to have these shows presented for the listening public, it's what's required. So, and there's a lot of struggles and growing pains along the way. Now, upgrades is one of the things that I just quickly like to talk about here, as well as sponsorship. Perhaps people out there listening who are perhaps, interested in helping out a little bit in some capacity, and that includes just sharing the links if that's all that's within your financial means. I know we had somebody drop in here who over on the Free Cosmos channel was a super chat personality. So it's great to see that they've subscribed to us, and maybe they'll be helping out once we hit that 1,000 member subscriber.
What are you up to now? What's your
732, I believe,
nice.
Something like that. So it's been going pretty
That's
good
the home stretch
for the last little while. Yeah,
Sure.
We've been kind of picking up a little bit of momentum there. So the more people spread the word, the better, of course. But we need to have those super chats coming in. We need to upgrade. We really do, because the more we can upgrade and use this Restream technology, which just picture in your heads, folks, as what we're doing here is we are branching out to Facebook, YouTube, and DLive all at the same time. We'd like to bring more platforms in and make it a more cohesive, all-in-one type way of doing things. Integrated, I suppose, is one of the words. So that's what we're looking at here. And
let me say something too, Jeff.
Sponsorship.
If you got a sec. I think maybe sometimes people don't realize the effort that goes into all this, the engineering and everything that we do go through. And that to create content like this on a regular basis does have a lot of effort. And all they need to do to help us out is just add to the subscriber count. Once you get that 1,000 subscribers, then you start to become funded. Then the microphones get better, the computers get better, things start getting better. And all you had to do was subscribe. All you had to do was just cast your little vote on the little subscribe thing. Well, I don't know if I want to. Yeah, go ahead. Just do it. Just do Jaffe a solid, even if you don't feel like donating any money to his Operation Secret Santa or any of that. A subscription is just pure gold. okay? And that moves him one step closer to being funded by what he does. Because you can still dance on this platform and make money, and there's nothing wrong with being paid for getting these kinds of reporting and kinds of messages out there. They're positive, they're insightful, there's research being done, people being helped. You got a couple of guys in wrongfully imprisoned right now that Jaffe's reaching out to. So at the very least, click the subscribe button, help a brother out, and move him towards actually making some money. Then you just go kick back and listen, because you've done something good for the channel. You've actually moved him one more little dot towards getting monetized, and it does make a difference. It is nice to be paid off your show. There's a sense of satisfaction that all this effort is actually going towards something that not only helps people, but also helps the guy that's doing it. So my encouragement is everybody give him a subscribe, help the brother out.
This is our fifth.
We don't keep lists. We don't get exchange cookies. We don't get your email. Nobody bothers you for money. Nothing like that. It's just like your choice. You want to come in and listen? Fine, just subscribe. It's not a big deal. It's a couple of clicks, and it helps so many.
And then the
people out.
bonus. Absolutely, Joe. Then the bonus, too, is click the little notifier bell up there by your icon. If you're logged in on Google, which forget about all the conspiracies, eat the meat and spit out the bones. Click the little notifier so that when Jaffe goes live with WPRPN, boom, you get a little notice on your computer. Hey, oh, yeah, I was going to listen to that. I'm glad it came on. I'm telling you, that's really a handy little feature. For all the warts that YouTube has, it has a lot of features. There's a lot of editing features. There's the advertising potential. When you launch a channel on YouTube, you're essentially going into television production on a micro scale. They're even providing you sponsors for your show without you having to do anything. They got them lined up waiting to do your show. So the thing is, they need to see that you've got an audience. And I know, Jaffe, you got a good audience. You got a good, solid audience. You're out consistently doing your thing. Your Friday night guests are always insightful. There's always something good going on. And then your news segment is great as well. So my encouragement, everybody, give this guy a little hand. Give some upvotes. And I'll quote a comment somebody said on my channel. Somebody had downvoted a good guest that I had. And this guy said, who were the Helen Kellers that downvoted this interview? I was like, but because it was kind of silly, people that come on and want to troll versus give it upvote, pass it along, let your friends know what Jaffe's up to. You've embedded yourself there in Korea. You're taking a completely global view on everything. An Englishman, in a foreign land, essentially. So your perspective abroad, looking outside into what we deal with, there's some good insight coming forward. So,
yeah, we're constantly on the lookout and hunt for other personalities, other people who would like to drop in and have their voices heard. That's what we're here for. Independent, online, open-sourced, underground pirate network, frankly, in the classic sense of the word. It's not a coincidence the boat that we sail upon here, the flagship, is christened the Robin Hood. That goes back directly to our mandate, our network philosophy with respect to profit redistribution, to the point where, on the one hand, we've been accused of taking an overly communistic approach. Can't have that profit redistribution thing going on. That's bad stuff. Or at the same time, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what happens to the other 50%? It's like, oh, it's too much capitalism going on there. Yeah, I got that capital. So you damn, it's like Aristotle said. The only way to be free of criticism is to do nothing, to say nothing, and to be nothing. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the way it goes. But in the meantime, thank you for those kind words of support and really kind of, pitching the idea of getting behind the network here and the main flagship show, of course. Both you guys Pirate Joe, along with Tommy Shutter there, of course, out of the Sunshine State of Miami. In the meantime, big shout out to Dirty Hippie. Joe Emanon once again in the YouTube Peanut Gallery area, along with Inside the Jackal's Head, Starseed. We had a handful of others, including Nethead. Let's not fail to acknowledge their presence. So Tommy Shutter. Who else are we looking at here exactly? There's a handful of people, up to about 10 altogether on YouTube. We got a couple, as always, on Facebook and D Live. So that's really great to see. And then, of course, we did I not give a shout out to Starseed?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you're bleeding through. And by the way, just to let you know, both of you guys, in fact, I think both Tom and Pirate Joe, you're bleeding through with your YouTube. I think you've got it on live. So you want to shut
and
that down.
Don't you have, Jeffy, don't you have gift cards for people that didn't get proper shout-outs? I think we've got some Radio Shack gift cards. So,
sure. No, that's exactly what we need to have integrated over on Patreon. So we're looking for help on all fronts here, basically. If you've got skills, a specialized skill set, people that are able to pitch in just a couple of hours each month is all we really need, frankly, from you. If you're marketing, sales, production, so the creative end of things, if you have something artistically you'd like to contribute to the network, that's definitely up for grabs as well too. So we just recommend you drop by and check out WPRPN.com/FAQs. Take it from there. And Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com too, let's not forget, is the main email address. Best way of going about trying to contact us for PayPal donations, show or guest requests, or for that matter, ideas. Although once again, we are pretty booked up until about right now. We're up into April is what we're looking at. So we're working on getting April, May, and the rest of the summer covered. So it's always a little stressful, of course. And this is another thing, that responsibility that I, on my end here, am left to. I'm basically expected to be responsible for, and I've got to take that on as part of my, take on to my shoulders here, and lead the way, essentially, showing people what we can do, what we are capable of accomplishing, just as a single person. If you have a vision, if you believe in what you do, and if you persevere, because quitting is really not the way to go. It's not an option. And this one, frankly, there's just so much potential when you look at Theater of the Mind, throw a little bit of High Seas Digital Piracy into the mix with a line of merchandise. And let's not forget cryptocurrency, multitude of links to minds.com. And so on and so forth. There's a lot going on here. Quality guests and content, twice a week, basically. We've been trying to get people to drop in and join us here for the first hour, typically, of the news end of things. But once again, Friday nights, same time as always, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 out on the East Coast. If you're checking the show schedule there, Tuesdays and Friday nights, is the way that we have things set up there. That works out to be Wednesday and Saturday afternoons, 1 p.m. here in the Asian time zones of both Tokyo and Seoul. So let's just take a look to what we have.
And you'll get news stories here that you won't hear anywhere.
Gentlemen.
Quick question for you, though, Jeff.
Sorry.
But gentlemen, listen, please. Your channel is not open. Stand by. There we go. Now it's open. Go ahead.
Roger that, Jeff. I've noticed that you're putting a lot more regional stuff up on your slides here on your show. Looks like you're showing more local connection. I saw some stuff there about expats in your area, or that you Facebook group, I guess. Are you tied into a lot of that stuff, or do you pretty much operate quietly and behind the scenes?
I'm sorry, expats. What are you getting at exactly?
you posted some of these slides talk about expats being from Canada or the U.S. or whatever, living in your area. Like here's one right now. Every fourth Saturday at Camp Humphrey.
Oh, right. Oh! You're talking about the music gigs, like JJ's Jazz and Funk Lounge up in
Jam Night.
That's up in Pyeongtaek, man. Sure, that's where I went for that reggae night just like a month or so ago. It was
it's
great.
Curious. I mean, you had not been showing these kinds of slides, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. Now you've kind of put a little bit more of this information on it that we hadn't normally seen. I mean, I had my exposure to to Tokyo and to Hong Kong a long time ago, and it's all different now. If I went there, I wouldn't even recognize much of what I saw. But I was intrigued by that movie, Lost in Translation, with Bill Murray. Did you find that movie to be relevant to your experience?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Although Japan and Korea a little different, most definitely. Although I think really when you first arrive, that's how you basically, in many ways, experience things, and it's something, the character and the story is what you can relate to.
Well, I had a similar experience when I went to Tokyo, because you've dropped into a modern technological society with skyscrapers, buildings, traffic, and everything, but the language, none of the language on any of the signs is in a language you can read. You've essentially come to a different planet, and you don't know these symbols that they use routinely. You're completely ignorant, so it is very disorienting. And I think do they do the dual English more now than they used to, or is it same as it ever was?
I would say Korea is much better with their English than Japan. They have more signs, more English is more high profile and visible, out on full display. Japan, not so much. They are very adverse, I guess. They're aware of how it could potentially seep in, I suppose, and have more of an impact. It's cultural erosion
to them, isn't it?
Sure.
They feel like they're stepping down.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
You guys
and I can see that too, because we see it everywhere around the world with multiculturalism, the erosive effect that has on the homogenous society, to which Korea here still is, to a large extent, although I think they also, to a certain degree, have embraced Western thinking and values, I guess, to some degree. Many Koreans, the younger generation in particular, they dream of a life in the West. The word for America is Migook, which, if you break that down, literally means beautiful country.
Wow.
So it's very me is beautiful. Mi Young-shil is a beauty parlor. Mi Nam means handsome. So the me. So this Migook, let's not forget, there's an interesting connection to Vietnam here and the war that took place back in the late 60s to mid 70s, essentially.
Actually, they were at war with the French before we got involved. So they had I think a decade of war before we even got there.
But the Gooks, you see the Gooks. Here's the thing. Like,
that's
the point
where that came from. That's where that term came from.
It's Korea.
Uh-huh.
They had a lot of Korean mercenaries, soldiers. What
war did we fight before we went to Vietnam? Was the Korean War. So that's where that terminology may have come from. Interesting.
Yes.
Jeffy,
it's goddamn
very important. I wanted to point out, Jin Lizzy is in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, I see that. That's great.
Okay, I want to give it a shout out,
Sure.
Because of the association with James Heydrich.
Well, they're both listening. James she's got him tied into the call somehow. So
that's great. That's terrific. Okay.
Sure.
I didn't
now,
know
here's
that.
The thing. Let's circle back to that. Thank you for the little call back there. It's and the reminder. This is why you pay, the pay that you managed to draw here, the booty that you rack up each and every week.
That's the ether. That's the ether. And
I've always said he's an ass master. So,
but hey man, check this out. No, James, I think I'd like to see him call in to Galactic Perspectives. He can call in to Galactic Perspectives. I guess he could call in here too, but I'm not clear. Maybe Jim Lizzie can set us straight there. He did say that we don't necessarily have to call him, though. He can call us. The speakerphone business is a little kind of tricky on this end here, and the way our jack is.
Actually, that wasn't bad what you had. That clip was not bad at all.
Worked okay, yeah, it was good. It was okay.
Yeah, just keep it close to the mic and just hold it close.
No. That was the handheld nonsense. We're going to go with the computer next time if we have that. That's what we're going with, the technology set up, and like you said, it'll feed right into. It'll pick up signal pretty even better than what you heard this time. Is what I'm thinking. Yes, so look forward to that. But here, let me just say as well, too, that with James calling into, I think he's able to. So let's just get that straight. Jim Lizzie, if that's the case, if he can call from Coalinga, if that can be set up for some point here in the hopefully not too distant future. And, he's a very galactic kind of
well,
guy.
not this week, but maybe the following.
Philosophy.
So, unless you want to put together a specific show,
Yeah, no rush, of course. Yeah. We've already got this week booked. That's understood. And we could even wait, like next week, just do something as just, who knows what's bound to come up. It'll be pretty much whatever the cosmos wants to deliver, I suppose, is the way I look at it. And that's how we produce.
That's what the cosmos really wants to know is what do you want to deliver?
Well, see, I have no desire, frankly, other than just crown chakra type
But
energy.
you want to get him out of jail. You want these people out of jail. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And that's what you're promoting, and that's okay. I mean, if this is a legitimate cause, I don't know enough about it, though.
Yeah. Well, look into it more because there's nothing that I found so far that, if the state can't make its case, if they are too afraid to actually step forward and have their voices heard, then yeah, they deserve to be called out and held accountable. And
what we can do is we could put together a separate show just for this, where he could call in. And I'll help you set up the free conference call .com stuff, unless you've already got it set up.
No, I don't know. I don't think we'll just do it the way we're doing it. If we're doing it from this end, we've got to.
There you go.
But from where you're situated, a little different story. Give them the number and let's get it going.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll have to set something up.
We gotta move along though, because we do have a lot of news here. We only have an hour left, so that's important to pay attention to what we're looking at there. I think we've pretty much covered everything that we need to this point. Of course, yes, it is show segment number 85 of World Pirate Radio News. I'm your host, as always, the Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. We have a handful of characters join us here in the peanut gallery, as it were, while we sail along here over the high digital seas, including Angel Espino and Tommy Shutter, both out of actually the Sunshine State of Florida, frankly. I don't think Angel's back in California. I always get confused, but I'm pretty sure, yes, he's still out there on the East Coast. And we have got Joe as well, too, another out there in the Eastern time zone with his New York, where he calls home. Actually, it's been the case now for quite a few years. Suffolk County. Long Island.
The armpit of New York.
Hey, listen, check this out.
I'm
guys.
in Miami of Ohio, actually. I'm in Ohio.
I thought
Miami,
it was more
Ohio.
in Illinois.
Yeah, there you go.
What the hell? Hold it. No, Angel, stop jerking us around here.
I'm bouncing my satellite.
I moved from Florida. I went from Florida, New York to Miami of Ohio.
No, I'm just totally lost. You just totally lost.
Fooled you. And actually, I'm in Miami, Florida, but there is actually a Florida, New York, and a Miami, Ohio. I'm not even kidding.
There's also a Miami, Arizona.
Yes.
There's a Moscow. There's a Moscow someplace in the States.
Moscow Mills in Idaho. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And that's where I think it all leads back to, this Trump connection. Blame Russia.
Moscow Mills, Idaho has got the nuclear training facility there. That's where you
Isn't it interesting too, the way that they keep with the number one rule, of course, control the narrative with media, but that they keep the focus entirely off of Israel. It's all blame Russia this and blame Russia that, and Trump's ties to Russia on this level and that, but with no mention or focus. not even a
Reason
word
why.
regarding Israel. Isn't that something? Just total silence, crickets.
By the way, and if you didn't know, NASA needs Russia to go to space for the last few years. So it's funny, we cooperate in space. We need them for space travel, but we can't get along here on Earth. How does that work? Why are they always the boogeyman?
Puppet show.
They were fighting ISIS. We were fighting ISIS,
Yeah,
so we get fight along when we're fighting ISIS. But yet, when there's an issue with Trump, Russia's the boogeyman. They've turned Russia into like Mike Myers.
Have you really studied Russia, though?
You guys, I don't want to get bogged down in the whole Russia thing right now. What I want to direct people's attention to
No,
is the
I
fact that
just
Bernie,
found it curious because there is a lot of opinion like that, and I found that people don't really understand that country. So, having had some personal experience, so I was just kind of curious at what level, because it's a valid point in some respects, but then it isn't. So, that's how I look at it.
what's the point? Sorry, let's finish this point and move on. What is the point, Tom?
Well, Angel's essentially saying they're harmless. And I don't think that's the case. I think that when you get kind of
I'm not saying exactly they're harmless. What I'm saying is you got to deal with them as you deal with everybody else. It's like when Trump went to Korea and he walked that border with Kim Jong unsung hero, whatever his name is. I mean, you have to kind of that guy. You got to build those bridges, and
I get that.
To keep vilifying a country just because politically we're different than them, that's kind of ignorant in a way. Just vilifying for no reason.
I understand. There's valid points on both sides. I'm just saying that there is a lot more to going on to Russia and what their ambitions are than to dismiss them as kind of like they're just a boogeyman.
There's far more with Israel than there is with Russia.
They can all be connected.
It's terrible.
Even that can be connected
with Israel. Oh, it's just ridiculous.
That can be connected with Russia.
Yeah, but a lot of it's show and tell, guys.
What's that?
A lot of it's just.
Go
ahead. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to quickly just say a lot of the show and tell and window dressing. Behind the scenes, it's like a wrestling event. They go out of their way, but then behind the scenes, they're all buddies.
Expensive three-piece business suits. Exactly. That's right. Yeah. The wrestling. Sure. So, look, Bernie Sanders just picked up the New Hampshire primary win, which finally they got it right, I guess. Jesus. I mean, that's just total egg on face ridiculousness. And the fact that the way that the Democratic Party as well, too, completely shut down Tulsi Gabbard is beyond disturbing, frankly. But it's a reflection of the state of.
You're just hot for Tulsi. That's
no, and that's but Tom, you got to.
She's a cutie.
Tom, that's you've used that line now every time I mention Tulsi.
Because I think you like her. I think you're.
I do. I think she's the best all-around candidate. Sure, she's got her flaws and
everybody's
issues.
got their opinion, though. I mean, that's your opinion, but people have another opinion.
Right.
The big question
You got a
is.
little chub there for her. You got a little chubby there for her.
Yeah.
He likes the creators on her face. That's what it is.
You should go independent, third party, independent.
Well, the big question is populism.
Pirate party, come on, Tulsi pirate, Tulsi pirate Gabbard.
That'd be a hell of a set of a union. Arr, mateys, Congress, sit down. We're about to have the State of the Union. Read from the Book of the Dead Sea, young Joe.
They forced Tulsi to go pirate. Is that bad? I can see that.
It is bad because it guarantees 4 more years of Forrest Trump. Okay?
No, I don't think so.
Assume Bernie on the ticket. Who's he going to get as a running mate?
Okay, here's the thing. Bernie and Trump both represent an answer to the question of populism. That's the real question, is populism around the planet. Then you have, what's his name, over there in England, very unusual character. People were looking for barn burners.
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson, yeah. They were looking for barn burners, okay? And that's what they got with Trump, was a barn burner. This guy has just completely just run loose, all right? Some of it was kind of humorous, but then it got old. But I'll say this. Populism's the question. The answer, I don't believe, was Trump. And I don't know if Bernie's going to be able to pull it off. He the guy. I hope he does. I'll be happy if he does. If he's
Well,
the
look at
candidate,
the
I'll be
appeal he
happy to
had
vote for
last
him.
time, man. Come on, look at the appeal. Just like with Ron Paul, just like with
Well,
with what Bernie, and look what they did up in Canada with
here's what people really ought to
Ben.
vote for. They ought to vote for what's good for the planet and not just for anger or they want to make somebody else cry.
Tom, the system itself is rigged.
Well,
I mean,
then we can.
thanks,
It's
man.
not totally rigged.
Jesus. Oh,
not
but
totally
it's hard.
rigged.
It's rigged.
Gentlemen,
enough to
gentlemen,
win.
gentlemen.
That comes
Yeah.
that way.
Lem-
Proportional representation. Hello, you want democracy?
Well, we have
Stop
gone from a
being
representative
people.
government. We don't have as much
Utterly
representation. It's true.
There is the waste of voting that goes on without the proportional representation is a farce. It's
Because we
there's
have too
nothing
much money in our politics. There's way too much money in our
Yeah,
politics.
and there's nobody talking about it. But you know
Well,
what?
there are. It's a groundswell. It's happening. Yeah, it's happening.
When's the last time you heard anyone talk? Proportional representation. Maybe Rand Paul, maybe like once a year or something.
Well, he's no. Rand Paul to me is completely.
Electronic voting is another issue, of course. Let's not forget that whole fraud.
He's evolved as from where he was more of a libertarian to now something completely different.
Look at their voting records. That's all we got to do.
Yeah.
Just look at the voting records. So let's move along though. We got Bernie there picking up the New Hampshire primary win. So
that's great. That's a good thing. I think that people should think about the politics.
Tom, hang on. We don't have your channel open right now. We got to keep moving along.
It's not open. Okay, sorry about that. Didn't even know that.
Keep moving along.
I can never vote for Bernie. I'm sorry. Just
issues here. Hang on, guys. It's that your channel's shut down. It's just a little distracting. My headphones just jibber jabbing away. So let's take a look at. Oh well, here Trump apoplectic with UK's Johnson over Huawei decision. So yes, that was an issue this past week, courtesy of UK Reuters. A lot of outlets reported on it. What else do we have here? Elizabeth Warren apologizing after 6 women of color quit her Nevada presidential campaign. Things not looking too good for Warren's her public images so much with politics. That's just the way it works, and unfortunately her current state of affairs situation is not the greatest. So courtesy, what do we got here? DNC offers a startup $500 million. Did you hear about this, guys? To develop a pencil that actually works. So I think this came just on the heels of what we saw in Iowa this week. So they want, it's a $500 million startup, and the DNC is backing this fully. So working on getting a pencil that actually works.
Are they trying to do like a number 3 pencil? Because I have a working number 2 pencil that's never failed me, made of lead and wood.
Right, and this one here is, this link, the URL, the story, courtesy of The Onion. So it's being an onion pencil.
Oh, well.
$500 million there, Angel, to get a pencil that actually works. And that's what we're talking about, the electronic voting. Just how utterly fraudulent the whole.
If it's from, it was from The Onion. I believe it.
Right. Okay, so I should have actually shared this with you. In fact, when I get a bit of a breather here, I will, guys. So sorry about that. That's the one thing I forgot to do. It's just the talking points this week.
It's not so much.
Hang on, Joe. Joe, just stand by. We got a limited amount of time here, okay? So we just got to rattle on down the stories, talking points in brief as just our overview synopsis, and then we can circle back and that sort of thing. Just basically revisit. And so save your thoughts just for the next just a couple minutes here. Democrats panic as Republicans launch formal investigations into Biden. Announce more to come. I think it's the FBI are all over that one, if I'm not mistaken, but we will see. Laura Corvino gave her a big shout out. We covered the Harvard Wuhan corona angle. A lot of people have not looked into this, of course. They have no idea whatsoever. Lieber, I'll say it again, L-I-E, that spells lie, folks. Burr, a nice Jewish man once again, as the head of, I'll read this here. It's a great little segment, actually. We copied out of the story that the chair of Harvard University's chemistry department was arrested in providing research to where? Wuhan University. So arrested directly providing research to Wuhan. One has to apply some critical thinking here. The money clue. Unbeknownst to Harvard, beginning in 2011, Lieber became a, quote, now strategic scientist, end quote, at Wuhan University of Technology. What? W-U-T. Hashtag what? In China, and was a contractual participant in, this is important now, another little note to take, China's 1,000 Talents. You'll hear about that more if you continue investigating here, folks. China's 1,000 Talents Plan from in or about 2012 to 2017. Wuhan, of course, as we all know, ground zero for the virus, but that's just a coincidence. This past December, 2 Chinese nationals were arrested in connection with Lieber. One of those people was Zhao Songjing, who was caught trying to sneak 21 vials of biological goop out of the U.S. to China. And that's about as far as the story goes there with respect to that information. But let's see now. I don't know if there's anything more anyone has to add to this. Feel free, though. If you know, any further color commentary or insight that anyone has, I don't know. Feel free, Tom.
I'm standing by my 17% kill rate for the coronavirus.
Right.
I'm standing by it, and mark my words
Right.
that will come to pass. And I don't think, as I said before, I don't think Mitchell was joking. They're burning bodies in the streets, okay, and the schools are closed in Vietnam, all right, in Hanoi.
Yeah, Joe, we've got like 30 people infected here, let's say, in South Korea, and there's nobody's died at all yet.
Wait
for
that you know of.
They get better though too. A lot of them just they get sick, they get better. They're done, moving on. You know, they're finished, right?
I got a funny quip, by the way, real quick. Anybody find that ironic that the Oscar-winning movie was called Parasite and it was out of Korea?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
What? Am I the only one that found that ironic? And it came out right now.
I haven't seen it. I got to take a look at it now.
Just saying. Yeah. Just throwing that in the ether. Throwing it out there. Discuss.
Mm-hmm. Hey, check this one out. Here's the thing. How many? My question too. Long ago, I asked right off the bat was how many Caucasian people have died from this? How many Africans? How many people of like Spanish descent? You know, from South America that have contracted it? And I'm willing. Well, we'll see what happens, but I'm willing to wager that it only affects Asians. We'll see how it all kind of turns out, but it could be one of these racially specific bioweapons that we've heard so much about over the years. That's why
we're gonna find out more about that, because in California there's a patient with which is accidentally was released from the hospital with the coronavirus. How does that happen? I have no idea.
I wonder if they found their way to Coalinga, because it sounds like almost that's what Hydrix Selly came down with. If it's something to some bad flu, and that whole institution now is on lockdown. Apparently, it's been that way for the past. Geez, I don't know. Did I get a message that said 18 days or 18 hours? I think it could be the past 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, by God, the past 18 days. So I'll have to go back and check this once again. Maybe
it's about right. Yeah.
Get us up to speed on that, just to revisit. But all right, well, moving along, and let's not forget, if there's any further ideas that come up here along the way, we definitely want to hear from you. Whether it's people here that we have on board with the crew here at the moment, or anyone out there in our listening audience. Hang on a second, Tom. You want to jump in there? What do you got to say?
Well, I just saw a note here. It said Trump proposes a 16% cut to the CDC as the global number of coronavirus infections and deaths rise. Interesting.
Jeez, no kidding. And who's reporting this?
It's coming from Forbes.
That's absurd. That's really utterly absurd.
Forbes has been known to put stuff out there that doesn't really correlate with reality. I'm just saying when it comes to Trump.
It's on API and UPI as well.
Yeah, but until it actually becomes a thing that happens, I wouldn't put too much grain of salt over it. Because they've been reporting stuff. They're always going to do this, going to do that. Then nothing is done.
Those are called trial balloons, my friends. Okay, that's what they're known as. Just what we saw here in Canada recently with Trudeau. Remember to hashtag that, folks, until he changes his tune and the way that he approaches, governing the country, because I'm not really overly enamored with the guy in a big way. I don't, I'm not into hating people either, but just, I just really, the trajectory where, we find ourselves evolving to over there is disturbing, frankly. So that aside, though, that what we had is a heritage minister just this past week came out and trial balloon it seems like proposed the idea of Canada's media having to actually earn a state-issued media license to be able to actually report on any current events or news. How does that sound to you guys? Is that something that we should support as far as any administration, let alone, just Trudeau in particular? It's like maybe a page out of his father's playbook. And by that, I don't mean Pierre Elliott Trudeau either.
What are you saying we should support?
Fidel Castro. That's I'm sorry, you're not clear on this?
What were you saying that we should support?
I'm it's a little kind of rhetorical and almost
Fidel Castro, I think he said we should support Fidel Castro. So.
I'm being a little facetious there, so it's the best I can. But, yeah, no. What do you think, Tom? Are you in support? You favor state-issued media licenses?
Would I support that?
Yeah.
You mean that I would have to have a license to do what we're doing right now? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Who knows? It may come to that in the future. We don't know. I mean,
exactly. That's right.
I wouldn't say rule it out. It'd be interesting because, especially if something like what we're doing, there will rise up through one of these channels, somebody that will have major influence, and then that influence will start to weigh heavy on the powers that be, and then you're probably right. There will be a clampdown. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I mean, they're already doing a bit of a clampdown on some of these social media platforms. Facebook, it's like a public utility that has no Public Utilities Commission. They completely run loose with their own so-called political correctness and monitoring everything that everybody says on that platform and then using it to track them. So it's such a dirty platform. But this is what we have now. We have these tech, what do you call them, the Kraken, that have little accountability to the people. And so they've invoked their own censorship ahead of the government.
Can I ask you folks a question here?
Certainly.
Go ahead. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, does the name Lisette Voitko mean anything to you?
Not offhand.
Vaguely rings a bell.
On Facebook, right? I think there's somebody like that named that on Facebook. I'm not sure.
No.
But
let me enlighten you, Lisette is the person who wrote the Forbes article that you're mentioning about Trump raising or cutting the CDC. She's, by the way, a Democrat, and she is very friendly with Hillary and Obama. So, like I said, when I read stuff like that from Forbes and you trace it back to the people that wrote it without any official word from the White House, take it with a big grain of salt. They've been known known to put those articles out there.
Well, everybody has bias, and nobody is completely
correct.
Unbiased.
No, but it's not bias. Is their makeup negative, news on purpose? And if you look at the Project Veritas, hold on. If you look at Project Veritas, Jeff Zucker's been doing it with CNN on Trump.
Problem.
Negative news.
It's a problem because it's called
everybody
the
spins.
Hold on, no, it's not spin. It's called the wrap-up smear, which Nancy Pelosi beautifully laid it out.
Let me ask you a question. If you're a Trump supporter, Why would you be worried about that? Because that's complete. That kind of behavior is completely within all of that. The Trumpism.
Because it's lying to the public and it's warping the minds of innocent,
Well, why
ignorant
would that be a
people.
problem for Trump supporters?
It's a problem. It's a problem in general. And no, but it's a problem in general. You're lying to people.
I mean, I'm just saying, it shouldn't be.
No, but period. That's the problem.
Why does Trump
That's the problem.
Leave Trump out of it. Just
that's it.
It's not derangement, it's gaslighting. It's gaslighting.
Angel, what do you mean? What you're gaslighting right now?
I'm not gaslighting anything. I'm just saying that's what Trumpism is. There's a lot of gaslighting.
No, that's what the left is doing by lying. Constantly.
As a matter of philosophical principle, I'm pretty sure. If I'm Angel, am I missing where you're coming from here? You're trying to kind of just be objective on front approaching this, and leaving Trump and everyone out of it. Just saying. I don't care if
I don't care if it's Trump or right or left. It's just the lying is just got to end. Whether it's against Trump and Forbes is notorious for doing stuff like that.
I'm just saying,
but it's certainly it's fine for Trump to go out there and lie.
But name the lie, Joe. Name the lie, because this is where people get really brave. But when you say name the lie, it'll prove it. The crickets. Joe, name the lie.
There's over 20,000 documented lies and
documented by who?
Misrepresentations that this guy does.
By whom? Because I've seen that also, and then I can tell you it's been debunked. And so by whom? Tell me.
No. They have
you can spin whatever you want, and you can tell me, it's these lies, this and that. Look, if you don't like the guy, that's fine. When the elections happen, people have the chance to vote. Until then, we need to relax with the amount of lies and the attacks and worry about the real problems. The coronavirus. That's the real problem. Getting Congress to work for the people here in the U.S. That's a problem. If you see the state of, hold on. If you see the state of the, hold on. But let me finish. Because the person who wrote that Forbes article about the CDC or whatever.
But is it true? Is it true?
Well, there you go. There's the question. That,
so far, there's been nothing from the White House. Hold on. There's been nothing from the House. There's been nothing official.
I'd like to see what comes. We'll see. But you know what? I'm willing to wager that Angel is he's going to. This chick's
that's because you mean right. That's okay.
No, actually, I don't. I voted for Obama twice, and I'm a Richard Democrat, so you're wrong. It's not that I lean right. I voted for Trump because, guess what? The left has gone crazy.
We actually have to queue up and we're going to revisit this business, the Iowa caucus as well, too. Shadow Inc. That's the company whose phone app hacked the Iowa caucus. Ooh, Shadow Inc. Who is that? George Soros at the top of the list there. Imagine that. That's just a coincidence, though. So nothing to see here, folks. Just move along now. But we're going to come back to that in just a second. But in the meantime, get you guys to mute yourselves out, please, because we have an important word here, courtesy of our sponsor, Red Dragon Herbs and Teas. Be sure to let Ryan know, simply 2 words, Pirate Radio, and you will receive a 10% discount on your order, anything more than $25 or more. So, Red Dragon Herbs and Teas, check it out. Coming up this Friday as well, too, we should mention that we have Bigfoot expert Thomas Sowid, I believe is how you pronounce his name, actually. He is a native Canadian indigenous person, Native American, I guess, you'd say Indian, or what have you. All those names and labels work, I suppose. So, but we're looking forward to that. There's a lot of things I'd like to talk to him about regarding Bigfoot, and I think it's going to be a great show. It's not something that we get into here on it'll be the first time. In fact, I think we've really dug deep regarding Sasquatch, as this creature is known out among, I think, many of the native people there on the western coast of British Columbia. So, yeah, that's hopefully who we will be speaking with this Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 on the East Coast. Saturdays here at 1 p.m. Tokyo and Seoul time zones. So many topics to hit on here and so many issues to address. endless number of shout-outs, of course, words of thanks. And
interesting note here for you, Jeff.
Hang on a second, Tom. Okay, we got, go ahead, breaking news.
Well, I did stumble across a coronavirus expert says he knows when the virus will burn itself out. And he says the 3 things the virus does not like: sunlight, temperature, and humidity. And he's thinking when the heat rises, he says sunlight would cut the virus' ability to grow in half. And so the half-life will be 2.5 minutes, and in the dark it's about 13 to 20 minutes. So he said sunlight's good at killing viruses. And he said he doesn't expect areas such as Australia, Africa, and the Southern Hemisphere to see the high rates of infection because they're in the middle of summer. So interesting that the weather may actually save the day where this virus is concerned. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. No, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great point and something to think about. There's a
scientific
Joe, just hang on, please. Let me finish this point.
Okay.
Get yourself muted there, my friend. Lyndon
right.
Baines Johnson, LBJ, and that it'd be nice if the slide came up here while we're doing the show, but talking about world weather warfare and the technology. This is back in 1962. JFK talked about this as well. Let's not forget. Funny how we don't, none of their predecessors really brought this subject up all that much. It's almost as if they really didn't want to discuss it any further. Maybe the technology just all went by the wayside and no longer exists, not even in this present age where we find ourselves. So that aside, it is interesting to note that I believe it was an Air Force document talking about their aim to essentially, through full spectrum dominance, own the weather by 2025. Just type into your DuckDuckGo search engine, Air Force weather 2025. That should work. Yes. Weather as a force multiplier. So, which in, I guess, military context, you always look for those force multipliers. Prove quite effective. So, 1962, the cloud cover, very gray day here, I must add as well, too, in South Korea. A lot of drizzle, a lot of rain, very cold, very wet, damp. And, so we don't have those conditions, unfortunately, as the sunny down under, people do in that environment.
We've had great
elsewhere.
weather lately.
Good. How many coronavirus cases in Florida?
None that I know of. So, but I have no idea, for all I know.
The only corona cases in Florida was during the Super Bowl, and it was like the ones you drink with a little bit of salt and lime. Yeah. A lot of coronas down.
The coronavirus down here would probably be from too many coronas.
Yeah.
We might think it's a virus, but it's not.
No, it goes away after you, hurl.
It goes away Monday morning.
Yeah, pretty much. Then the headache kicks in. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, you guys. Check this out. Right. We had, speaking of corona, we had Esther Koo, the comedian. Maybe Angel, you've seen her or know of her. The Korean-American, Canadian. She was booked to join us. I'm not sure what the latest is, whether she's just got too busy or something we might have said or typed to her an email that managed to rub her the wrong way. But it's interesting to note that my wife actually, here's the thing right off the bat, is I thought that there was a good chance she would never drop by and be part of the show. My wife's name, as it turns out, is Rona. So, Esther Koo, the two of them meeting up together, not good. Clearly, nothing good could come of that. End up with the Koo Rona, either virus or something that you didn't want to have in the end.
That's very close. It's kind of creepy. Yeah.
It's kind of a bad pun, actually.
Yeah.
Koo Rona. Yeah. So it's
be sure to check your servers.
And we just had almost a coup in the White House with the hoax impeachment.
What happened?
There was almost a coup in the White House. They were trying to take over the government with Impeachment hoax.
Oh, right. That
Yeah.
that whole thing. Well, let's not go there right now. That's a good point, of course. But I got to keep moving along here. So actually, I have yet to get around to letting you guys sending the notes over there via Skype. But Alexandra Bruce, yeah, that's where we actually heard about this Shadow Inc. from originally. So thank you for that, Alexandra, somebody who, as it turns out, is a personality, a character we've hoped would drop by here and join us at some point. We might have to get somebody else to try and reach out to her, but we did our thing from as far as, we're friends on Facebook actually, but just she's a little unresponsive at times, not interested in doing too much.
I did post that article into the chat about the talking about when the virus will burn itself out, so that's in the chat.
Good. Thanks, Tom. Much appreciated. So,
should get a gold star for that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll go word to Trump, so I think, like Rush, we'll get you a star.
That'd be great.
Well, we're doing this. Linux-based Windows. Hang on a second. What am I looking at here? It's a technology thing. Why is that coming up there? So
these guys came up with a distribution that looks very much like Windows 10.
No, isn't this something? Check this out. The one computer is frozen. Thank God. We're just running right off the laptop right now. So this bloody thing, I tried to load something. It's not going to do it. I might have to shut down the desktop. Hopefully, because everything's, do something here, log out. Even that's not going to work. Look at that.
Well, don't run too many windows with Chrome. Chrome, huge memory and processor hog, and you got to kill it from time to time.
Yep.
There we go. We're shutting the desktop down. We are strictly running. It's like, when an airplane loses one of its engines, I guess, right? So rebooting the desktop, get that back up on board. And yeah, as you say, Tom, the browser is really important to have those there. But it just froze. We were trying to load a file to share with you here on Skype, and it basically said it wasn't going to go any further. So it's a good thing. Look at that. We're rebooting here in real life time. And
that's why I keep everything on external drives. Mm-hmm. Keep all your files on external drives in case the system craps out. You still got your data.
Speaking of which, we got a brand new Toshiba. It's a 2 giga deal storage device coming our way here. So
terabyte.
What the hell? Yeah, what am I saying? 2 giga, it's terabyte.
How much you paid for that, by the way? If I may be so bold to ask.
Hang on, isn't it tetrabytes?
No, it's terabytes. But how much you pay for it?
About $85, maybe.
For $90, you could have gotten a 5 terabyte on Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just bought 2 of them myself, 5 terabytes. Amazing.
Wow.
Western
Digital.
You know what? Yep.
Well, we'll do that next time with you or somehow, but I don't like dealing with Amazon, really, at all.
I hate their corporate, image, because they're the big, bad guys, but I love taking advantage of the Prime.
I totally agree.
It's awesome.
We do agree, Angel. We agree on a lot of stuff.
No, we do. I have no issues with that.
That's right. No, I agree with you on Amazon. I'm the same way. It's just too, especially if you don't have transportation. Right now, I've got a vehicle issue, and it's a real boon. A lot of also the grocery delivery services too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
The big grocery chain here is Publix.
Publix.
Did they have delivery in your area?
Well, I stay in the Homestead area right now, so.
Oh, you're in Homestead. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got some nice organic stuff down there in Homestead.
Oh yeah. I smoked some of it earlier.
There's a huge number of them. Yeah, there's a huge number of nurseries and truck farms down there.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, we got Whole Foods. We got all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's nice. There's some good stuff down there.
I'll tell you this much. I don't miss the rest of the country. Florida has everything. So.
Yeah, you don't need to go anywhere. We're fine.
Great weather, beautiful women. Once I get my leg okay, I'll be able to take advantage of the beautiful women again. I mean, I'll be able to go out and say hello, not take advantage, because you can't say that anymore. Because then they'll start searching into your past, and we don't want to have me be like the next Bill Cosby. And yellow pudding pop. Next thing you know, I'm doing 30 to life. You don't want that. Wow, that just took a dark turn, didn't it?
That was awful.
Take my pudding pop from your mouth and put it
My
down
wife-
where the sun don't shine.
My
Bill
wife,
Cosby.
Camille.
I will only touch you if you are under the influence of something where... Well, it's actually I picked up at the Playboy Mansion. Panty remover. Put it
Who
up.
would have thought that Dr. Huxtable would have been like the biggest rapist of all time? So it's...
Oh, man. I'm telling you, the Playboy Mansion connection there's that rumor going around that they had those tunnels built underground that went off to like James Caan's house, Cosby. I'm not sure. There's a whole story, and then
wow.
half 1 year, just a few years before he passed away, he just came out and said that it was an April Fool's joke. So, I mean, was it really though, or not? So, hey, here's another thing. Check this out. There are said to be secret, kept under lock and key, as you can imagine. Who knows what else? But an archive library of all the Hollywood elites, their sex tapes. They're kind of like an Epstein.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like an Epstein sort of thing. Only, who knows if most of it's consenting, I would assume. But it's like, who knows what kind of weird things people are getting up to in their private time, right? Whatever, however they manage to get their jollies. So, but yeah, and then Robert Downey Jr. was one of the names that came up. Who actually someone who had been allowed granted access to the library, and he was able to look through and find what he wanted. So that's just, but it's a rumor. So it's like, who really knows these things, right? If you weren't there and seen with your own two eyes, then again, it's a question of what is it? Believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. So, which I think is quite applicable to where we currently find ourselves with public and popular discourse. But anyways, yeah, Iowa caucus, that was a big deal. They got to keep an eye out for that coming up here in the future, and who knows what's going to happen exactly with Buttgag if he's going to pick up or Booty Gag, however, I think maybe Booty Gag.
Booty guy.
Yeah,
do you find it kind of like weird that he's behind the app that has all the issues, and all of a sudden he's leading Iowa with the app he created with all the issues that, with
George Soros. Yeah.
Nobody else finds that kind of weird.
It's just a coincidence. Right? Yes. So let's move along, though. So, because here's the thing that you might be interested in. Actually, Angel, MD, I guess it's Maryland, officer's murder charge for executing handcuffed detainee. And we're still trying to get that. Here we go. We're almost there, believe it or not. So I just found the folder. 85. Come on. Oh, don't tell me. There we go. Sure. You're going to play ball here. So that's great. Sorry, guys, that it took so long to pass this along to get a chance to kind of brush up on some of these issues. And, with the 20 minutes or so we have left here, just jump in and kind of drive home, or if there's something that we missed out on, by all means, let us know about it if you feel it's pressing enough, because that's really what we do. We like to take the conversation here to places where don't normally find the discussion going with the more mainstream outlets. That's one of the ways where we pride ourselves, I guess, and we try to do our best in not only taking on the more conventional way of looking at things, the way that these issues are framed, all the various actors and their particulars, but also in a way which perhaps is maybe a little bit outside the box, and not in a way which we've necessarily been spoon-fed via these larger multi-million-dollar corporate outlets and institutional establishment agencies. That's where we are part of the Fifth Estate here, Pirate Radio Podcasts, independent, online, open-sourced, underground, alternative, and yes, where we can manage it innovative as well too. So if you have not already, by all means, drop by WPRPN.com. Check out the FAQ page along with the show schedule. We're working on getting our Teespring. There's a link or two there, actually, I think, off of the February 2020 schedule page. If you can click on that link, when you go to the pull-down menu at the top, you'll see the Teespring pop up there, and you can follow straight on through to the store we have in place. If you don't see what you're looking for necessarily, just let us know, and we'll do what we can to better accommodate you on that front. Right now, currently, we have T-shirts, coffee mugs, and ladies' leggings as well too. But we are looking for developers, people who can further work to create some of the magic that we have managed to muster up to this point. Now our 5th year that we've recently just kicked off here in February for the most part, although I guess, as I recall, back in January, we were doing some of these midweek muck-arounds. But that being said, once again, working up to the point where we can manage to find our way bringing on board 1,000 subscribers via YouTube. That is really, once again, a critical threshold. Although we like to promote BitChute even more, believe it or not. Not that they don't have their problems. Not that
do they pay? Do they monetize BitChute? Because I'm not too sure on that.
Not to this point. They haven't. No. And then there's a live streaming feature that's been discussed as well too. So look, with more donations coming our way, because right now we're not even covering our operating expenses. That could be subject to change, though. It depends if we have greater sponsorship. We managed to be more successful with our outreach. If we have people out there that are interested in helping out to act in the way of patrons of sorts, or just people that want to donate to the tip jar, $1 or $2 here and there every once in a while. Sometimes we do get those PayPal donations. Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. Very much appreciated. Minds.com. The tokens do come our way there as well, along with patreon.com. So if you want to help out there, some people don't like the whole credit card thing, but I don't see any huge problem to the way they have their system in place, other than they're not really pro free speech. So that's a problem. That's just not acceptable at all. It's very much something to be on guard for, or at least wary of. And I just cannot get behind that philosophically whatsoever. But there you go. And if you do have any further questions, just send us an email or do what you can to contact us in whatever manner you so choose via social media. Oh boy, looking to the Middle East now. Although let's let the link here that we shared with you, the last story that we mentioned, Angel, was this Maryland officer's murder charge for executing handcuffed detainee. And I'm just going to look at see if that's going to come up at all. No, it's not. So I'm not sure. Oh, I guess it's a YouTube link, as a matter of fact, that you have to follow up there. Did you hear of that story, though, Angel? I mean, and it happened to be, I think, a black guy shot by a black cop, too, apparently.
Wow.
I can gather. So, it's a corrupt state of affairs, apparently, all dealing with dead men tell no tales, do they?
Well, I haven't heard about this story in particular. I mean, it doesn't shock me. People die every day. Cops, unfortunately, are put in positions where sometimes it's their life or the life of another. And they're human beings, too. So, I mean, I don't look at it as a race thing. I look at it as a, case-by-case thing. I don't get mad because some white cop shot a black person or a black person shot a black person. You gotta look at it case by case. I'm gonna do a little digging in this one. I haven't really read up on it. When did this happen? Was it recent?
Yeah, I think it was just this past week. You know, and listen, man, look, it happens on an all too regular basis. The real numbers, and hey, you should dig a little more deeper and then send what you come across my way, because my understanding is that, people talk, the war on cops. Oh, geez, the war on cops. That's total bullshit.
Yeah.
It's actually, the cops are the ones with the guns, people, in case you haven't noticed. So, like, who's going to be dying here in the event of some sort of, people, they lose their heads a little bit? Presumably the people with the guns, not the ones who are unarmed. They're going to, those are the ones who are going to be getting hurt, if not, in fact, and find themselves leaving this earthly realm and this world. So that's, look, the statistics, what we have there, and just an approximation of things from a few years ago, is that the number of police being shot in America, it's going down, actually, that being killed by citizens, while at the same time, over the past 20 or 30 years, the number of civilians, it's way out of proportion, grossly out of proportion, like on a per capita basis, I think is how they had things set up there. And it's just, so prove me wrong. I mean, or prove me right in what I'm putting out there.
No, but here's the thing.
Have to fact check. That's what journalism.
Well, yeah.
Got any integrity as a journalist, and you're willing to, just accept the facts for what they are. Really.
Soon you need a license to be able to even say that.
What's that?
Soon you're going to need a license to even be able to say anything like that.
Oh, right. We got to check with Trudeau, what's his first name? Oh, yeah, Justin Castro. Right. We
check Fidel Trudeau. Fidel Trudeau.
Jeez. Oh, boy. See if it's okay. Yeah, to actually have an opinion and share it with people. Joe, were you going to jump in there?
Yeah. The active duty police, more of them committed suicide than were killed by citizens.
Right.
Look, I've had good experiences and I've had bad experiences with cops.
It's not a dangerous. In fact, it's not even on the 10 most dangerous professions list.
No.
Okay. You had less than 200 in 2019.
Yeah, Joe, do you know
more than half of them committed suicide?
Right, Joe. Do you know that they also, with the cops, they hold down the top category apparently in with respect to beating their wives, spousal abuse. It's
and alcoholism and drug abuse. And,
but you guys got to remember, a lot of that is a domino effect from the fact that they're so hated by the public. I mean, police officers are human beings,
That's
and
not
this
true.
is no. Let me get my point across. Hold on, let me get my point across before you jump down my throat. And I say this because I've known cops. My whole life I've had friends that are police officers. I've had family members that are police officers. I've dealt with police officers. I've had good experiences and bad experiences. I've seen the police. I've seen two gentlemen who are twins that are a friend of my family since they were kids, became officers. I saw them and were good people get corrupted from the system that they were within. Now, the thing I'm saying is, police officers are people, and it's an institution that it is corrupt within that trains these people, but at the same time, they're individuals, and when they go out on the field, they're dealing with other people that have mental issues. They're dealing with this on a constant basis. They get attacked by a lot of people, and not just because white people that are cops hate black people that are out there doing nothing and minding their own business. When you, like I said, take it on a case by case. A lot of times they're dealing with some hardened criminals that just committed violent crimes, or criminals that are mentally disturbed and are committing crimes. There's been cases where cops have been accused and arrested of killing somebody, and it turns out that person just robbed the store. I don't want any names because I don't want to get too controversial, but that was the big case here in the States. So when you look at a person's history and you look at the mental illness that's been on the rise for the last 50 years, you look at all these different incidents that have been on the rise, and you're a police officer and you're out there trying to, do your job, eventually that gets to you. And if you're a little bit weak-minded and you tend to be a little bit violent on that side, things like that could happen where you could snap and you could become violent towards your wife, towards your kids, you could commit suicide. It's all a mental conditioning. Not everybody's fit to be a police officer, just like not everybody's fit to go into the Army, Navy, or Marine, or hell, not everybody's qualified to tear tickets at a movie theater. I see people go crazy, just tearing tickets at a movie theater. So it's all on the person's state of mind. And I've seen people that are cops for 30 years never have an issue. And, they've never had any kind of, mental retardation moment where they beat their wives, because that's the dumbest thing you could do. But at the end of the day, you gotta understand, they go through a lot. And I know people that hate cops just because they're cops, and they forget the fact that they're human beings also. Every person that goes and enlists in the police force, what were they before? A person. Who had them? Their mother and father. How were they raised? Same way you were. They went to the same schools. They had the same churches. They had the same upbringings. What makes them different? They decided to serve and protect. Now it's how they work within the system that makes them different. That is the real reality of it. And we vilify those people that then, when we need them, we make that phone call. We get them involved. A lot of people, and especially I grew up in the ghetto. I lived in the ghetto, my education was around all black people, and I'm not saying this to be racist in any way, but I've seen people that are, African American, black, Haitians, vilify police officers. As soon as something happens, they call the police. All right, don't be hypocrites. If you're going to call the cops when you have a problem, then understand that they're human beings also, and you got to take everything that happens on a case by case, and not vilify the entire police world here in the United States, or at least here in the U.S. I can't talk about China, I can't talk about Korea, I can't talk about other countries. I'm looking at the United States. In particular, I'm looking at Florida, and within the communities that I know, California, Florida, I've seen a lot of, stupid hate speeches and just hate propaganda towards cops that is not even warranted a lot of times. That's my piece.
Well, when you get somebody and you throw them into a job after 4 to 6 weeks of training, and they have to know the law, they have to know how to use weapons. All right, they have to know how to control people. If they were a little bit more respectful to people's needs, and in times of crisis, they're supposed to be serving and protecting the public.
But that's the whole institution I'm talking about. That you hit it on the head. That's the institution. It needs to change. It needs to be better.
Teaching them de-escalation.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the institution.
There's endless. Kaiser would be a good. It'd be great to hear from him on this one. Of course, he spent a lot of years.
When I first got in the computer service business, they taught you how to defuse an angry customer, because this was back in the days of mainframes, and so they taught de-escalation in all the training centers for field engineers. That was always a part of the courses that I took when I first got in the computer business. They always talked about how to defuse and help, because people were beginning to become the companies were becoming dependent on computers. And so, it was an interesting part of the whole computer
skillful
revolution.
means, Tom. Skillful means is how what I attribute it to. And with any context or situation, whether you're a doctor or a cop, maybe a live streamer, it really just depends on the situation, what capacity you are present in, and are people going to get hurt potentially?
The old joke used to be, shoot first and ask questions later, and everybody laughed.
Yeah.
Now it's policy.
Dangerous stuff, dangerous times for sure that we find ourselves.
Policy. That's really sad.
Well,
21 bullets.
41 shots. Look, we've only got a few minutes left here, and I think, Angel made a great point, and what I was going to just respond by saying is that not everybody hates cops. I think he made too much of an overgeneralization, just an extreme type position on things there.
Well,
and
actually,
a lot of
though,
people,
Jeff,
But it's a high percentage, Jeff. It's a very high percentage of
Hang
anti-cop
on.
sentiments.
Okay, here we go. So we'll sometimes got to mute the guys out when we order in the court, pounding the gavel on the.
Yeah, but Jeffy, I think he raised a valid point.
But hang on. Let me finish this point here in response, that it has to do with what's known as simply cop suckers. You've never heard of these cop suckers?
Jeff, let me say something.
I've heard of cocksuckers.
You're not? No, apparently not. No cops in Florida, Tom? Come on.
I think maybe your perspective is a little different being over there, but over here,
you're totally
people get pulled over just for being black.
It's happened to me with black friends in the car. And you know what? It's also the way you talk to police officers. I see my black friends deal with the cops in a very ignorant way. When I'm looking at them, I'm like, dude, just shut your mouth and be polite, and nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
That's it.
Be cool.
And you're listening to a guy who got beat up by cops. I got beat up by cops in the late 90s. It happened to me. But you know what? I was dumb. I said something stupid, and it's a long story.
You live and learn, don't you? It's like, well, there's a wake-up call, I guess. So maybe next time we talk to the cops, we'll try to be a little more polite rather than such a jerk.
You know what's funny is I had a funny story like that. I was cruising over to a friend's house on a Saturday morning, and here in Florida, Saturday morning, the streets are pretty quiet. And I was going over into Coconut Creek, and there's a big, wide boulevard, as I recall.
On the board!
And, you're in Florida, of course, right? Yeah. Anyway, so I'm cruising along, and I think I was about, I don't know how many miles over I was, but cop pulled me over. And I don't know why, he seemed like a friendly guy, and I said, hey, he got me. And he started laughing. He says, all right, man, just get out of here. And he just, it became kind of a joke. And so I think you're absolutely right. How you talk to them.
Yeah, but Tom, they've got their quotas as well too. You're talking about speeding.
I know. You got to be careful.
So they got. It's like, geez, here's another mark. Here's our next guy. It's like, here's your $200 or whatever the hell it is now. Thank you very much.
I think all of us have an uneasiness here in this country about dealing with the police. It's like we know all of these different sides of the story. It doesn't make the anxiety any less, though.
Look, man, we got to avoid the cops wherever possible. All right. Look, the thing is, if we need them, then okay. But bottom line, you don't call the cops. It's well known. And if I need them and if I want them, I will call them. I will reach out to them. I have done that in the past and had.
But you're in Korea. That's a different story than being in Miami, Florida.
No dealing with. Thank God, no dealing with the cops here at all. Just because there's too much corruption, frankly, with the fraternal end of things, with the Freemasons. We know that they're heavily these secret society kind of. I'm not sure what more you could say to things other than that. That's bound to almost inevitably really hijack any due process or actual justice that we can hope for when it comes to whatever predicament we or our friends, loved ones, or just other community members might find themselves in when they're getting into trouble to whatever degree, from the smallest little infraction up to the highest, most serious, gravest charge or allegation. So it's go ahead.
I think it's important to just not be naive, because the thing is you can't just go in, like Angel was saying, you don't want to come in with a hostile attitude, because that gives them a reason to do.
Oh yeah, they will destroy you. They will shut you down.
Conversely, though, you want to be prepared and have your wits about you. So,
you guys want me to share? Share a quick story? Something that happened to me with the police. Something I broke the law and they let me go.
Yeah, we gotta. Let's wind down on this, guys. We're gonna close things out here. Take us home, Angel.
All right, real quick story. I got pulled over with a very little bit of Mary Jane in the car, and
good green herb.
Yeah, I love it. And the officer that pulled me over, I'm not going to mention names, great guy, smelled it, and he said, it smells like you have a pound of, the good stuff in the car. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to lie to you, I have a little nugget in the car in my pipe. And that's that's my lunch after lunch. So I'm on my way to work, and and he told me, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "I'm very serious." And I'm not gonna lie to you because you're gonna search my car anyway. So what's the point? And I have never been arrested. I don't have a prison record. I'm clean. And if you take me to jail, you know what's going to happen? When I get out in a few hours, I'm going to go home and smoke weed. So the only really damage you're going to do to me is going to ruin my day. That's about it. And he said, that's incredible. You're telling me that. Yeah. And he used some bad words along the way. But basically he told me, you know what? You're honest. And let me, look, if you come out clean, you know what? I'll let you go. He checked my background. I came out clean. He said, just leave. I don't want to do any paperwork on this. Just go. And he let me go. And, and that's because I spoke to him like a man. I respected him. I wasn't threatening. I wasn't insulting. I told him the truth. I opened my car door. I didn't hide. I wasn't an a-hole to the guy. I told him, look, I have a little nugget. It's not even a gram. It's something that I take, for lunch. I'm a working citizen. I pay my taxes, and the last thing he told me was like, dude, next time, smoke in your house in private, like everybody else, just don't have it in your car. That's coming from a police officer, and it's not legal here yet, like that, when this happened. So, it's all how you deal with them. They're human beings also. Now, if you're going to be there and you're going to start being a jerk, and you're going to start calling them names, which I've seen videos on YouTube, people trying to be all heroic saying, oh, look how I outsmarted this police officer. And they make a video, and in the video they look like a-holes. Not the cops. The guy making the video looks like the a-hole.
Yeah.
Hey, there's tons of videos like that.
A key word too, if any, we could do a show on this whole area, which would be, I think, wonderful, really, really great and timely as always, of course. But this business of proceeding or engaging in some action under duress, that's the operative word, under duress. I'm doing this, but only under duress in following certain orders, as it were. Never let them search. Mind if we search your car? No, do not let them search any cars. Would be my advice, not a lawyer, of course. That's just my way. When I found myself in this situation in the past, I do believe that's the route that was taken. Absolutely.
Do you have any kind of rights like that in Korea?
I really don't. I really don't know. As far as it's a German style. Actually, it's not even naval admiralty law here, apparently. It's a German model that they took on after the war, supposedly, similar to the education system. There's no drama here in Korea at all, no drama clubs or classes. They have music, they have art, math, science, all the standard stuff. No drama. I find that quite, that's noteworthy, something to reflect upon. Ask yourselves, why is that? Exactly. What's the problem with.
Do Koreans even know how to be dramatic? I mean... they seem to be
Germanic or Germanic or dramatic.
Yeah, either way. I mean, either.
yeah. Dramatically Germanic. Germanic. Here's my little, the language lesson for the day, I guess, or one of them as far as enunciation. Always helping people here with the ELF gig, of course. Up their game as far as pronunciation is concerned. We want clear enunciation. Don't get sloppy with those words, So,
after a couple of bowls, you think to slow your words.
They don't smoke though. That's a whole issue in itself. They drink, and it's really it's a part of the chauvinistic type mentality and culture mindset, really similar to Japan's. Not as bad, but they're not racist. They're chauvinists. And there's a lot of pig-headedness too. There's a positive quality to their character as well too. Koreans very kind. They can be very caring and thoughtful and very sweet people. But there is a two-faced Janus type nature, unfortunately, present here in a very strong way as well too. I always have to be on guard for so much. It's no surprise the plastic surgery industry is so huge in Asia. You realize that, don't you? The reason, of course, is these people they're just constantly losing face. And then they have, so they're losing the face, and then they want to save the face. So I mean, plastics. It's just that the industry is just, you look at the state of things today, and you gotta try and not lose so many faces, I guess, is the bottom line, right, Joe? Try to save a little more face.
That was so groanable, man.
I think for the first time, Joe is speechless for the first time.
He's groaning not out of pain, but because of the attempt it did not work. It did not go over too well. No. So, but anyways, we do our best here. Yeah, we have our goofier moments, we have our serious moments, and it's just a mix of everything. We have our, we're crazy pirates. What can you say? And we're taking advantage and promoting this idea as well too of freedom of speech. So clearly, you see, it's not as much as in lockdown as with commie friggin' red flag China, thank God. And that's one of the reasons I chose Korea. I didn't go to Japan, didn't go to China, chose Korea for this very reason, because like you've watched dogs before they sit down, obviously, in the way that they circle around, kind of just waiting, just choosing, just trying to find that sweet spot, I guess, really, just where the perfect kind of key or energy is present. So, but anyways, guys, it's been a hoot. You're always very much appreciated as our listeners, of course. We gave a shout out there. We had to reboot the stream, of course. Let's not forget, off of the desktop, but I think we managed to maintain the feed, the signal. So that's great. Fox Azure dropping in here just at the last moment, along with Asher Evans. Very similar story is what Fox is saying. Got pulled over by the county sheriff, speeding, and pulled over before he even turned on his blues. Yeah, I got a story similar to that. We'll get into it here at some point, I suppose, but just these stakeouts that sometimes occur, unfortunately. The first thing I said was you got me. You let me go. Asher Evans, then when you need the police, they're minutes away. That's why you got to take care of yourself. Well, yeah, always rely on yourself, only as a last-ditch option, frankly, would be my advice. And outside of that, be sure simply to deal with the situation on your own, because trust me, when you get the law enforcement, the legal authorities involved, it can lead to just they can really make your life hell. Trust me. There's no doubt about that. So that's why we choose here very much the libertarian approach, way of dealing with things. And there is a pirate code too, let's not forget. But I think, guys, if you want to jump in there, we gotta shut her down here. Is there anything more that you'd like to say? And along with the fact of I'm going to let people remind them, of course, visiting the website, WPRPN.com, and the email, in case they've forgotten, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. Is that you, Tom?
No.
No.
Oh, I heard somebody. Okay.
No, that was great. No, thanks for having me on tonight. That was fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Galactic Perspectives, when? Good
talk. Yeah, it'll be Thursday night. And good talking to you two, Angel and Joe. And Thursday night at 8 p.m., we're going to have Nori Love on. That'll be fun. Cool. We'll be talking about reincarnation. And I think it's going to be another interesting conversation. We touched on it on one of our previous shows. And now she's got quite a bit of expertise in the subject and more of a new age perspective, so we can ask some of these bigger, weirder questions. So it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm going to try not to drag her down too much, so I'll ease off on.
Well, I gave you an article, Joe. I gave you an article to check out. You might want to check that out, about a doctor that did quite a bit of research on that. So
I've been reading up on it all week, actually. So I'll be with it Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Thanks.
It's going to be a good time.
Thanks for having me on, Jeffy. Appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was another great week, and very much freestyling. Of course, we did thankfully manage to make our way through most of the talking points. That's really great. And we just shared the February 2020 schedule with listeners out there. So be sure to get a copy of that, pass it on to your friends, post it in social media, help to support us. This is our 5th year. And
one more thing.
we're working just to cover our operating expenses. Go ahead, Angel.
By the way, tonight marks the first time ever that you were live on PSN Radio.
Yeah, you never told us that, man. It's like, yeah, we just can't. You should have. I understand. So thank you. So we were doing a little simulcast there. You should have.
Yeah.
That earlier.
Well, you asked if I could do that, when we spoke earlier this past week.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, that's a piece of cake, no problem. And there you go. Your first simulcast on psn-radio.com. So, congrats. And I had no idea. Why that was even taking place until just a short while ago. So that it kind of caught. Yeah, it was a little off guard or blindsided, but that's great to have you do that. We much appreciate that. And that's what this is really all about. We have done simulcasts in the past, and we're actually picking up a little bit in the way of syndication as well, too. We're not going to say much more about that right now, but there are people out there who it seems are taking an interest in the conversations and interviews that are being produced here twice a week. So that's quite interesting to see and take note of. Who knows where it all could ultimately lead. In the meantime, though, we are going to be back. And remember, guys, just mute yourselves out there so we don't have any interference with the outro as we cue it up here. But yeah, planning to be back this Friday with Bigfoot expert Thomas Sowid out of British Columbia, of course. And, we've got InfoWars China along with Misha Popov booked for the next 2 weeks. A lot more coming up over March and all kinds of good stuff that we're doing our best to provide to you, all on a free basis once again, although we very much do appreciate it anytime someone is willing to step forward and help us out in a little more substantive way as we once again just work to cover our operating expenses. That is the goal to this 5th year. It's a tough slog, folks, and we're just doing the best we can here to make it and to get by and to see that the cats are fed, lights are kept on, and water stays running. So out on the high digital seas, on behalf of Captain Long, John Sinclair, and all the rest of the crew here aboard the Robin Hood, I'm your host as always, the show's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Happy sailing.